Good afternoon, traders. Happy Valentine's Day. Today's February 14th, 2019. This is Trader Tim from eMiniMind doing a trade recap video. I'm going to recap Wednesday and Thursday. I only had one trade both days, so we'll keep it short and to the point. In Tuesday morning's trading room, I was talking about that first 5-minute play where if we gap up above or below the prior day's range, then you can bracket that first 5-minute bar, buy stop above, sell stop below. And so that's what I did on Wednesday. We haven't seen a lot of that first 5-minute gap play um, this year, really. But I noticed in the last week or so, things started to look better in that regard. So I took that yesterday, just doing a buy stop, one tick above the very first 5-minute candle's high. Then I just trailed my stop underneath each swing low here, eventually being stopped out at 58.75. And I took a little bit off at 4 points, and then I got stopped out on the remainder at about 2 points. So not a huge trade, but that was the only trade I had for yesterday. We kind of just moved sideways from there, really for the remainder of the session, 2 hours. So I just shut it down after that. This morning was also kind of messy. One thing I'll say about the first 5-minute play, you'll notice today we gapped down, and the first 5-minute candle was outside of the prior day's range. But we need to break that first candle on the very next candle. We can't have these inside bar, inside bar. If I'm going to take it, it's got to happen in the next 5 minutes. So no play today on that first 5-minute gap. What we did get, though, is a low tick that lined up with low price. And remember, the first 10 minutes or so on the nicey tick, I disregard the price action that I see just because you get these extremes and then they kind of settle out. So really, I'm considering this the first low tick for the day at about 45. And that's where we had the low tick, and it was actually 746 and 746. So low tick that lined up with low price. Two ways you could play it. I drew up the next retracement short, and with this one, I got a little bit more aggressive because I noticed that we just dipped below lows only by 2 points here. And so this morning we sold off. We rallied almost to highs and then sold off, broke lows by just 2 points, and then immediately had that low tick that lined up with lows. So because of this big range bound, in the first 15 minutes, I got a little bit more aggressive with this one. Technically, we didn't touch the short 32.25s. So I just took the very first long here at 31.50s, and then I trailed my stop underneath this swing low, and then when we got the double top, I put it underneath this swing low. We got a little bit whipsawy up here, drawing the full retracement would have probably been a little bit better to stay in the trade, but even then, rallied all the way to the negative 23, then sold off all the way, retesting the 50, and then rallied again. So I ended up getting taken out for basically the rest of the position down here at 33.75s. But you can't catch every single trade perfectly. So had I done it over again, I probably would have left a little bit on down here, like put my stop on the last third underneath here. The other thing I had noticed, if I come back and draw up from highs down to lows, is that double top right here. We had stopped at the halfway back, the trading hours only short. So, really, this was the right play, even though we ended up moving to the upside, limiting my risk because the short had traded. Yes, I realize the low ticket lows traded first, but this is a little bit bigger level, so I try to respect those as much as possible. And, it wasn't the cleanest move through here, so Not a huge deal. I try not to, focus on the profit that I may have missed out on. I rather just focus on, okay, I started the day at break even, and then now I'm up 4 points instead of, oh, I could have been up 6 points. Doesn't really do you any good. Then we made our way up to the top of the first 30-minute range, and it was about 8:05. We did get a high tick that lined up with highs. In this case, rather than being overly aggressive because we were 30 minutes into the day and we had a lot of these swing lows. Oh, so let me go back to this short or this long down here. If you wanted to be more conservative rather than taking the long down at lows, letting that swing high break and then drawing up the long, yeah, you get in a little bit higher, but you have a little bit more confirmation. The swing high broke, and right here we broke the prior swing high, and then taking the long at 32.75s or 33s. So that's the approach I took up at highs because we were sort of on our way in trend. That first long, we were 15 minutes into the day, so I didn't really want to wait around too long. But later, we did get a high tick at highs, but we were like constantly getting little high ticks here. So I wanted a little bit more confirmation. Wanted to see us break a swing low back here, which we did not do. We just kept going up in retracements to the upside. So rather than taking this short here, I wanted to wait for a break of a swing low. We didn't get that, so I didn't end up placing a trade there. And then that brings me to our little sell-off over here. Really quickly, it was like maybe a minute of this big sell-off. So I'm going to bring the market profile over here. Do that. So a couple things I want you to notice. Here's today's profile here. And here's yesterday's profile. The first thing you'll notice is this is the high of Tuesday, 48s, which also happens to be the low of yesterday, 48s. And look at where we stopped. This is right here, hour in. That C letter stopped right at top of value area, top of Tuesday, bottom of Wednesday. And so there was strong resistance here as it stands just from the market profile chart. As we come and zoom in here, we weren't really making a full pullback. Well, we did here, but then the next one didn't really make a full pullback, and we had one little candle low. Didn't have a high tick at highs. It did set up in a short, and if you were quick, you could have gotten in. A couple ways I was looking at it. I drew up from this double bottom to high, and I noticed that we traded not just to the negative 23, but all the way to the negative 61.8. So I drew up a high to high, since we were kind of going straight up, an extension, which I don't do too often, but they are helpful at times. And we had really just stopped right at the negative 61, right at the 61.8% line. And that happened to be a little double bottom back here. If we had gone one more tick, I would have been all over it. But just like I waited for, this prior short at 805s and passed on that short because we didn't break the swing low, I also ended up passing on this short as well and missed out. But it wasn't more than last week. I caught two 10-pointers in similar fashion, so you can't catch them all. But if you trade the same way each time, you're going to be more consistent. I didn't catch this winner, but I also saved myself on the prior loser. And like I said, even I'm not perfect. As long as I've been doing this for 12 plus years, there's trades that I miss here and there. So that was kind of the entry into this short, but a little bit of a anomaly. in that regard. So that was today. Again, we kind of went into just a sideways for the rest of the morning. When you get these bottoming tails and spinning tops, it makes for very challenging intraday trading. Even yesterday, topping tails, bottom tail here. So I'm okay with just taking one or two trades, see if I can get something going, keeping that positive momentum. Yeah, rather than focusing on, oh, I missed a 10-pointer here. I just focused on, I had a good trade early on. I passed on a losing trade. Yesterday had a small winner. Uh, and so you just kind of keep that momentum going and then move on to the next day. So I hope everyone has a good evening. And as always, Tuesday, live trading room. You check that out, emoneymind.com/VIP. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.